Time for me to start there, Ms. Ling? All right, let's get this show on the road then. Good morning, everybody. Thank you very much for coming. So the very first thing I'm going to say while I have your attention, I'm going to do my best to be as interesting as possible for this sharing of information with you. But I'm going to ask you, you're going to need to contribute to this as well. One of the things that's very critical is to avoid multitasking during this session. So please keep away from Zalo, Messenger, watching YouTube or TikTok, all of those things, so that you can get the maximum benefit from this workshop. So yes, please avoid those. And I believe there's going to be a test at the end for how much did you learn from this? How much were you paying attention? So please do keep away from all of those different online distractions. This is one of the challenges with collaborating online. So let's get this show on the road, everybody. Without further ado, IDP IELTS teacher training. And so to start off, we'll have a little bit of discussion amongst you so that you are participating in this session. And I picture this beginning being something similar to an IELTS speaking part 3-ish kind of question. Number one, how has the student demographic, and if you are not familiar with that term, I did use ChatGPT to translate that over for you. How has the student demographic for learning IELTS changed within the last 10 years? Why are the students today taking IELTS? And what are areas that are typically challenging for our students? And criteria for you to consider: age. What's the difference in ages compared to 10 years ago? Now, some of you, I see some videos turned on, you look a little bit young, so you may not be 100% sure on this, but use your critical thinking, your imagination. Think about that. And language issues. What are some language issues that can happen from this? I'm going to put you into breakout rooms, and I will continue to show these questions in the breakout room so you can refer to them, ask and answer with your partner. I'll give you, we'll say, 4 minutes to complete all of these questions. 4 minutes to complete these questions. And creating the rooms, just 1 sec, make sure that these are going to automatically move you over. Fantastic, they do. And not the numbers that I was expecting. So let's try reducing that a little bit. My apologies for the delay in that. Okay there, everybody. So please ask and answer these questions with your partner. And then when you come back, I'll call on you to share your thoughts. All right, let's go.
Hello mọi người.
Hello.
Hello. Okay. I get this card.
Yes, actually we have three.
Hmm. this question needs some statistics. And maybe we can start for some statistics for these type questions. Let me see, maybe we can use about the ChatGPT for this one. Or we can start about on the Google. Okay, so before we can start and find out about the questions one, so maybe we can discuss about the question 2 and question 3. Yeah, exactly. Writing, speaking. Okay, what area type of challenging for them? Yeah, exactly. I also concerned with that. I do. But how about the reason? The reason why? The reason why they are finding is really challenging with the 30-second left. Okay, so about the IL, about the question 2, why are they taking the IL? I think is about the Vietnamese student. They focus on dear
You sure?
the graduations.
So, any hands, anybody out there, what are some ideas that you have about this question here? How has the student demographic for learning IELTS changed within the last 10 years? Any ideas? Feel free to use the raise hand icon. That should be there under reactions there somewhere. Yes, react. You can also just raise your hand. How has it changed? Uh-oh. We got the awkward silence going on. Nobody wants to talk to me right now?
Recording in progress.
Ooh, and I guess we're getting recorded now. Well, I see some people with video cameras on, so I'm going to say T. Quinn Fee. Hello. He's like, no, not me. Don't pick me. Any thoughts?
Yes, absolutely yes.
Okay. So the question was, though, how has it changed in the last 10 years? Well, what do you think? What are the most students? What age group do you see the most in IELTS today?
I think it is a little bit hard for me. It is difficult for me to say because I only have like 4-year experience in teaching English and IELTS. But from my observation, as I was a undergraduate, I believe that like about 7 or 8 years ago, most attendants in IELTS are undergraduates, and mostly they take the IELTS examination because they want to graduate their university. That is a
Sure.
requirement for them to graduate. But
Sure.
recently, most of candidates in IELTS are high school student, and they want to get IELTS score to apply for any university in Vietnam, or a little bit, a small percentage for maybe studying abroad, I guess.
Yes, this is what I've been noticing as well. So a change in demographic, it's becoming younger for the most part. Areas that are typically challenging. What's difficult about learning English for many Vietnamese? So who am I going to choose yet next? I see Din Vu Dang with your camera on. Thank you, Din Vu Dang. For Vietnamese people, what is difficult about IELTS and English? Mm, yes. Mm, yes, great answers. Yes, I'm noticing similar things, and so you know what? Let's get a little bit more deeper into the presentation and share this with you. So, what was a classical profile? University abroad, as T. Quinn Fee had mentioned there. I believe that your name is probably Quinn. I'm guessing, but yeah. Taking the IELTS to go to university abroad. When I first started here in Vietnam, I came in 2009, 2010, and that was the majority of IELTS. And what were the strongest skills? Reading, followed by listening, and then writing and speaking were lagging behind the rest of them, the productive skills. And what were some of the famous issues? Well, transferring L1 to L2, bringing Vietnamese into English. And this could be such as word order issues. So, for example, English teacher, we have English and then teacher, but then in Vietnamese, it would be Yao Ving Ting Ang, the switching of the orders, the noun adjective word order. That would be one example, but then famous pronunciation issues with final sounds and a syllable timed pronunciation. If this is a new term for you, syllable timed pronunciation, an example would be every syllable is the same amount of time, which is what Vietnamese typically, what Vietnamese production is. So continuing on, but the modern profile, sure, it can still happen about university abroad, but more likely it's about high school completion and domestic university entrance. Going to university here in Vietnam would be our typical learner. So, and just a moment, please. Continuing on. So you could also see people that will use the IELTS test as a measure of their language proficiency. So for professional purposes, putting this on their CV for later use. Strongest skills, reading and listening have matched each other in scores. Writing and speaking have both improved, but there's still issues. And I would argue, I would expect that our current crop of IELTS students, the speaking has been improving substantially, at least the ones that I've been teaching. I'm encountering a lot of Vietnamese young learners, 12, 13-year-olds. They almost sound American to me in their pronunciation, so stronger in their speaking skills. So I wouldn't be surprised to see speaking exceed writing in its scores in the near future. Issues, well, the age group, they're young. They don't have awareness of the genre of English argument building. They don't plan, and the lack of world knowledge. IELTS was not designed with young learners in mind. It was meant for university entrance or immigration to another country. These were meant for adults to be taking it, not for, well, I even gave an IELTS test to a 9-year-old at one point, just a mock test. 9 years old! That's the way things are going in Vietnam. So, what's going to be happening today in our workshop? We're going to have two different parts. First part, we're going to be focusing more on writing. So, we've already talked about the typical learner profiles, discussion about the classical and modern profiles. Next, we're going to be getting into the writing task 2 private band descriptors. You know what? It's not private band descriptors. It's the revised band descriptors. And these have become made available to everybody. In the past, it used to be that the private band descriptors, they were kept under lock and key, and nobody except for examiners knew them. Now everybody knows them. So the different types of writing task 2, critical criteria. Then we're going to be talking about the curriculum, and that these typically will be coming from international publishers, and how we may want to be considering another approach to teaching. I argue for the model process approach. And then we will explore this model process approach, how we will be exposed to a model essay, and we will be highlighting the argument building within it and the transitions between ideas and paragraphs. How this is, we need to be doing planning and organizing, and my preferred method is a mind map, and how this has transfer of value to mixed ability classes before finishing the first part with a critical thinking strategy called the cradle to the grave approach and its practical application. So, right, I guess we don't need me in the corner anymore. Let's just go to the PowerPoint only. Who am I? Why should you be listening to me? My name is Daniel Ullman, although I also have a Vietnamese name, Teacher Dan. So I have more than 14 years teaching experience, including Canada and Japan. Canada is my home country, but more than 12 years now in Vietnam. I taught in Ho Chi Minh City for 2 years, Hanoi for Ban Nam Dui, and now Da Nang, Sao Nam Rui. Actually, nearly 7 years. Next month, it'll be 7 years in Da Nang. I'm delighted to be the IELTS expert for IDP Vietnam, but I currently also teach for RMIT, KMS Technology, Sacombank, and my own personal online product, Innovative IELTS Insight. Previously, I have worked for the British Council and was academic coordinator there with IELTS as part of my remit, and then ILA as a senior teacher. And I have done a plethora of teacher training with EdTech, pronunciation, lesson design, skills, you name it. I consider myself something of an EdTech specialist. I have been playing around with bringing technology into the classroom well before COVID coming to force us all into online teaching. I believe that there's a lot of advantages that we can gain through using technology with teaching, but judiciously, principled. And for my qualifications that are relevant, I had got the CELTA, got a passe on that, and the Delta. Also involved with events and marketing. So, the revised band descriptors. May 3rd, 2023, IELTS released the revised band descriptors. Well, my question for you is, how familiar are you with them? Let's orient towards these, and we are going to be doing a quizzes next. So, in the Zoom chat, you'll see a link to quizzes. Please open the link that's in the Zoom chat. Open the link and join our quizzes, orienting towards IELTS writing, the band descriptors, a little bit of speaking in there as well. Now, I do need to put a time limit on that because while we have 79 people here, I don't think we're going to get all 79 in this. Disconnected player. Oh no. So, time limit, we're going to put a 30-second time limit on this. Actually, and I'll let you see that 30-second timer. 30-second timer. Boom. Leaving. Please come on in and join. If you do join, if you miss out on the joining, you can still see the questions. I'll make sure you're able to read them. If you have any tech issues in joining quizzes, again, I will be presenting my screen, and you're certainly welcome to type answers into the Zoom chat if you would like to participate in that manner. 5 seconds left. 3, 2, 1. And that is all the time we have for joining. You can join late, but again, if you want to put your answers in the chat, you're certainly welcome to do so. All right. First question, number 1. Which are parts of the classical writing process? Planning, drafting, revising and editing, writing whatever without ordering the information, never reading the writing again before triumphantly handing it in. What do you think are the correct answers? Time running out. 5 seconds. 3, 2, 1. Pop, 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 pop. A lot of answers coming in, but only 23 out of our 42 attendees got those in. That was multiple answers, and you do need to click submit your answer if you're not familiar with that. I am happy to see that nobody chose writing whatever without ordering the information and never reading the writing again before triumphantly handing it in. But planning, drafting, revising, and editing, these are all part of the classical writing process. So going to university, writing my master's papers, I would use this process in order to create the highest level essay. Back to sharing my screen, continuing on. Next question. Writing task 1 can be a process diagram, a bar chart, a line graph, an opinion essay, or a map. Again, multiple answers. Make sure you submit your answer as well. 20 answers in already, 15 seconds left on the clock. Five seconds. We have 32 out of 42. 3, 2, 1. Disconnected player is apparently disconnected. And how we doing? Nun Tui holding on to the top spot, but followed closely by Din Tai Lei. Nobody choosing opinion essay. Oh, look at that. 100% correct. Moving on. I don't need to talk about that then. Next one. Writing task 2. What can writing task 2 be? Discussion, problem solution, a table, advantages, disadvantages, and a 2-part question. I'm still hoping for disconnected player. I hope you can reconnect at some point. 3, 2, 1. Time is up. Ooh, Tui holding on. Din Tai Lei still holding on to the top spot. And some people missing out on the advantages, disadvantages, and the 2-part question. The other one that's missing, so there's classically 5 different types of task 2 essays. So discussion we already talked about. Problem solution, advantages, disadvantages, 2-part question, and an opinion essay. Although the advantages, disadvantages can be split into 2 different types. Pure advantages, disadvantages, and then the other one is, do the advantages outweigh the disadvantages? And then it becomes more like an opinion essay, more like a discussion essay, I should say. Next question. People already getting those ones in. How many different criteria are we marked on? 2, 3, 4, or 5? Disconnected player. I'm hoping for you. Get that answer in at some point. No. Awkward silence. Five seconds left. And done. I'm hoping for another Mocham Fincham answer, and oh no! I did see Chi did not get that and dropping out of the top 5. One person choosing, well, I know that was Chi. One person choosing 3. There are 4 different band criteria that we are marked on for writing, speaking, either one of those. But for writing task 2, what are the criteria that we are marked on? Coherence, cohesion, lexical resource, grammatical range and accuracy, task response, or fluency and coherence? Benz. Me, Vu, IELTS, IDP. Quite a few, 33 answers in there. That's pretty good. And time is up. Tink. And the top one's getting it correct. Oh, Din Tai Lei making the move to the top spot. Ooh, one person missing out on lexical resource, and happy to see nobody chose fluency and coherence. Next question. Task response, what's the highest band score? You know what? Okay, so I'm turning off the timer, and I'm going to share with you the band descriptors. Now, I know some of you have already put answers in here. In the Zoom chat, you can have a look. Again, there's no timer. I'm going to give you extra time to do this. But the writing band descriptors, this is for task response. So if you go down to the task 2 section and have a look at the task response column, what is the best score for this question if they have no clear position? So I've turned the timer off, but we cannot have unlimited time. So, oh yes, 3, 4, 5, 6 are the options. I will give you 30 seconds from here to find that. So those are the same descriptors that the examiners are going to be using. I do recommend, as a teacher, becoming more familiar with these. I have mixed feelings about teaching my students about this because it takes a lot to learn it. But as a teacher, most definitely, you should be familiar with these band descriptors and the differences between the scales. 3, 2, 1, and ending the question and moving on. Ooh, a couple of answers getting there. So, how did we do? Oh, only 2 people getting that one correct. 3 was the best one that I felt. So if there's no clear position, no part of the prompt is adequately addressed, no relevant position can be identified. So this means, especially for our students, to be putting their opinions in the essays when it recalls for it. A lot of times my students will not put their opinions in. Next. 1, go. Let's get that sound back on. Task response again. Time limit on. I do recommend referring to this, though. What's the highest band score that can be gotten if there are some main ideas but they lack support? Three, 2, 1. Oh no, Benz did not get the answer in time. Oh, Tu Fung Chen is now on the top. So 5 is the one that I went with. Some main ideas, but they lack support. And this was task response. So some main ideas are put forward, but they are limited and not sufficiently developed, or there may be irrelevant detail. However, you'll see parts of that where number 4 also talks about main ideas, may lack relevance and or support. So I can understand if you chose a different number for these different scores, but I chose 5 for the best choice of that. Next question. I believe we're moving on to coherence and cohesion next. What is the highest mark that can be gotten if there are ideas but they don't build towards anything? So making sure that you're over in the coherence and cohesion column for finding this information. Ooh, more people getting that correct. 4. 4 was the correct choice at 17. They don't build towards anything, so 4. Yes, information and ideas are evident but not arranged coherently. There is no clear progression within the response. This is where planning is going to be important later. We'll talk about that later. Have any more questions? 5 more questions. Paragraph might be insufficient or absent. Pop, pop, pop. Bunch of answers getting in there. Still hoping one day disconnected player will reconnect. Will it be today? Will it be this question, disconnected player? Looking like no. And Tu Fung Chun holding on to the top spot, followed closely by Quinn. 5 was the answer I was looking for. Let's go and have a look at that. Maybe no paragraphing. I see on number 4. And then number 5, paragraphing may be inadequate or missing. Now, for the students that are still doing the handwritten test, I have been encountering a lot of times where one paragraph, it finishes at the end of the line and they start the new paragraph immediately. It can be difficult to tell if that is a new paragraph or not. I encourage my students to skip a space and start the next paragraph so it is clearer. You do not want an examiner on a bad day saying, no, there's no paragraphs, when maybe they intended to, but they didn't make it clear enough. Lightning rounds, speaking switch. In part 3, candidates have to talk about personal topics connected to everyday life. Only 20 seconds to answer these questions. In fact, I think it switches to 10 seconds. Lightning round, get those answers in. And that is just simply a true or false. Boom. Only 29 answers this time, not 33 like usual. Ooh, Quinn making the move, and first place. False. Couple people saying true. No, that is speaking part 1 when it's about personal topics connected to everyday life. Next question. Candidates need to answer as many questions as possible in part 3. This will show a broader range of grammar and vocabulary. Only 10 seconds. Put the answer in. Oh, 28 this time. 1 less than last time. So only 10 seconds to answer. Ooh, Quinn getting that correct and holding it on. Hung Nan coming in. No, it's not about answering as many questions as possible in part 3. That is not the goal. I do like tricking people with this question, though, because it sounds like a good one, doesn't it? Next. 10 seconds. Answers to the questions need to be well extended with clear organization and linking between the ideas and a Vietnamese translation, but make your answer quick. And the top 6 all getting correct. True, everybody choosing true, but fewer people getting their answers in, 26. Yes, this is where we need to go deeper with our answers and using English logic to support the ideas. We'll talk more about that later. How many more? Last question there, everybody. Examiner does not have to follow a script so carefully in part 3. We'll listen to the answers carefully and might ask you to say more with follow-up questions. Oh, only 24 this time. Quick that time, huh? Right. Well done. Wan Lung jumping up into 4th place there at the very end. Ooh, and some people choosing false. No. So the examiner will be given support questions, but the examiner will be listening to the topic, the content of the answers, and follow-up questions, and maybe even challenging the students on their responses. I've heard of some places where they try to memorize answers for every possible question, but then this is where the examiners can take it apart with the follow-up questions that they may not anticipate and challenging them on it. And this is something that's difficult to practice for. So let's have a look at the very end. how did we do? Who were our top 3? And in third place, we have Nam Dang, Tu Fung Chen, and the big winner, Nguyen Tung Quinn. Well done on that one. And stopping the sharing and skipping that. Thank you. We'll save that for another time. Boom. Okay there, everybody. I hope there are no questions for that. Ooh, sound coming through late. And let's get back to the presentation. I need to drop down to here. Bink. All right. So you may have disagreed with some of the choices I made for those answers. I understand that. This is my interpretation of the writing band descriptors. Please, again, spend some time studying them on your own. Use these when you are marking your students' essays and try to differentiate between the different levels. So, continuing on. Curriculum coming from most of the time international publishers, and my suggestion for the model process approach before we explore it, get into planning and organizing, and critical thinking strategy of cradle to the grave. So a deep-seated issue is that for a lot of places, the curriculum, so I've worked for British Council, ILA, RMIT, it comes from course books, major publishers like Cambridge or Macmillan, and they have outstanding reputations. But how can this be an issue? Well, what is the target demographic they make these course book for? Is it for the Vietnamese? No, it is Eurocentric. Western European countries have foundational similarities in structure and argument building. This is assumed knowledge. It is rare for books to effectively teach this. So, my suggestion is that we be using a model process approach. You examine a model answer, deconstruct it into its constituent parts, the introduction, the body, and the conclusion. And when you've been doing this for a while and reading many different model expert answers, you'll discover that there's the writing task 2 formula. Sentence 1 should be this, sentence 2 should be this, sentence 3 should be this. There is a frame that should be done, and if this is not done, then it is strange to read, it can be difficult to follow, it will result in a lower mark. So that is the model aspect, and then there is the matter of the process. So examining the task, coming up with ideas, organizing the ideas, proofreading, especially with targeting personal issues, should all be part of the process of writing an IELTS essay. And if we don't show the students, we don't walk them through this process and give them the guidance, then maybe they develop this on their own, but a lot of times they flounder. So let's have a deeper look at the model process approach. We'll go through some of this together. And before we go any further, so, ditoy, here's the example topic. Discuss with your groups. What ideas do you have for this topic? Many people believe that technology is capable of dealing with any problem that arises in the world. Others are not so optimistic about the world's prospects. Discuss both sides of the argument and give your opinion. So, I will put you in the breakout rooms. I will share the screen with you. But what ideas do you have to write about this topic? What would you write about if you had to do this? Quick discussion. Say 2 minutes, not that long, to discuss with your groups in the breakout rooms. And go time. I do hope you
Recording
take the
in
opportunity
progress.
to discuss these topics with your partners. I don't think there was a lot of talking that was happening there. So I'm going to pick some random people for their ideas for many people believe the technology capable of dealing with any problems. So Quin Chang Wen T. One idea you have. Oh, Nambui writing, disagree, lack the ability to resolve conflicts between nations, especially those issues with the potential for armed conflict. Okay, thank you, Nambui, for writing that in. And Quin Cheng Wen T, your thoughts?
Okay, so with this topic, I would have a body one. Firstly, I go for the idea that technology cannot solve any problems.
Any
And
problems? Zero problems.
no, I mean that it
All of
can
the
solve
problems.
some problems, yeah, but
Okay.
it cannot solve all of the problems.
Okay, sure. And any supporting ideas to go with that, though? Any particular
Yes.
examples? Yeah.
Firstly, yeah, it can have us to solve some problems like have us to analyze data and have us to translate materials, and it makes our life easier. However, yes, because technology cannot help us with something like about emotion and the feeling, and maybe it cannot evaluate some problems, like it cannot judge which one in terms of criminal. It cannot judge instead of people. That's an example.
Sure. Okay. Thank you very much for your idea. And let's go with Mr. Fong. When New Fong. Any other new ideas, different ideas from Ms. Quin Chang Wen T?
From my perspective, I do think that with the advancement in medical technology, well, the technology has also revolutionized about the healthcare as well as the treatment and the patient outcomes. On top of that, the enhancement of technology also contribute to their innovation or renewable energy such as wind energy and solar energy. Furthermore, the digitalization has also enhanced the global communication and education, breaking down the barriers between nations.
Right. So, Mr. Fum, I'm noticing, I think that was three positives that you gave. Do you have any negatives about technology, though?
Well, about the in terms of the negative side, I do think that there are some problems about these issues that is there some like the poverty that is technology can't solve it, as well as the inequality in the society, and that is not about saying that the political instability. I think so.
Sure. Right. And related to the topics that you were bringing up about poverty and inequality, a term they talk about is the digital divide. Now, while smart device penetration is quite rampant, it is pretty extensive, there are still some people that cannot afford a smartphone. And so if they can't have a smartphone, they probably don't have a laptop. And so they don't have access to the different technological advances, and they can be left behind. Think about very rural areas in Vietnam. This definitely can happen there. Right. And just a reminder, everybody, to please turn on your webcams. We have significantly fewer people now with webcams on than we had at the beginning. People have been turning off the webcams. And again, to be trying not to be distracted by other online things that can be happening. Whoa. All right. Hello. We don't need your screen sharing. So yes, we're stopping the screen share, and it looks like we got to turn off the screen share. Post only. There we go. Sorry about that, everybody. Probably just a slip of the thumb and the finger. But yes, please, if you could turn your cameras back on, and to avoid task switching, such as messaging, watching TikTok videos, or YouTube, or something like that. And hello, Nguyen Yun. I see your hand is raised. Or is that Nguyen Zun?
Yes, about the webcam, I am not dressed appropriately for this meeting. So,
You have a shirt on, I hope.
yes, but
That should be okay then.
let
Yeah,
me change it to a new shirt. Anyway,
it's a
regarding
nude shirt. Listen, I mean, even if you have like just your top half of your face, that would be nice.
it's
there
just a
as
tank
well.
top.
Okay, but yeah, again, even if you only have this part up, that's fine. You can hide your hide yourself. But thank you for reaching out. Yeah, that's fine. It's completely fine. Thank you very much for turning on your webcam, though. I appreciate that.
Regarding the question,
Oh, great. Yeah.
I see that it's a question about discussing both sides and state my opinions.
Mhm.
It's still possible to stay in the middle ground, correct?
Yes, fence sitting. That is possible to do. It is a difficult essay to write successfully. It can be done, but it needs to be a very proficient writer. So I generally encourage my students to pick one side. And I did hear you wanted to continue to talk, and I will give you just a moment about that. Why to just pick a side? It's quite small of an essay. So when I was writing my master's essays, 6,000 word essay, and then you can go deeply into a topic. IELTS, 40 minutes, really, to do a task 2? You only have 250 words, maybe 300. I've seen some people do 350 words in that time period. You cannot go really deeply. So that's why I encourage people to push things more to one side than the other. You do need to talk about both, but make one a little bit stronger. And this is cherry picking, is the term in academic circles. It's not okay to do in a university setting. But for the IELTS, you just need to show that you can structure an argument in an English fashion, that you can connect the ideas together, that it builds towards a logical conclusion. But you don't need to talk about everything. And sorry, and Nguyen Zun, I don't know if it's Zun or Yun. Dan, I like that name too. So Dan, do you have any other points that you wanted to bring up?
I noticed that technology can solve a lot of problems, but at the same time, they also create it.
Yes.
For example, the problem can be pollution, and it can be employment replacement. But for the solving problems, I think it related most to medical technology, as well as anything to do with algorithms such as accounting or robotic technology to replace some task from some tasks.
Dan, you've got a lot of great ideas. And if you were going to go write a master's paper on this, you've got a lot of ideas to contribute towards it. However, with the IELTS, at this point, we would be looking at subtracting some of these ideas so that we can bring it together into the tightest essay that we possibly could. But and we'll talk about it a little bit more here shortly. But and thank you. I really appreciate the raising of your hand and turning on your camera, and great ideas too. Just in the interest of time, though, we do need to move on. So next after that, example topic, and so a model answer. I'm going to share with you all a model text, and for you to just read it, your main goal being, did you have any similar answers with it? Now, you may or may not be aware, but there is no longer writing, examining done in Vietnam. All of the IELTS test papers are sent out to, I'd heard Australia is where it's getting marked, but there's different hubs around the world where the papers are sent in from other countries to mark. However, there used to be. And I asked an IELTS writing examiner to examine this essay I'm about to share with you, and he felt that this is a Band 9 answer. We'll see if you agree with that. That's completely fine for you to disagree, but let me share my screen with you here. Bink. I'm going to copy this link, and so you can see the task is still here. I will be giving you commenter-only access if you want to make a comment on this, but you will not be able to edit this. But read through this essay, and did you have any similar ideas? And if anything you don't understand, I did use ChatGPT to translate that for you. So in the Zoom chat, oh, I see somebody wrote another message there. Oh, wow. Lei Kung, thank you for your message. Just seeing that now. Why people are not optimistic. Writer's agreement should be placed in the second body. Okay, thank you for that there, Lei Kung. And we'll talk about that a little bit more. But everybody, here is the essay. Please read it. I'm going to put a little bit of quiet background music on. And I'll give you, we'll say some 3 minutes. Put a little bit of lo-fi on. Oh, Samurai Zen, that sounds good. All right there, everybody. So you have this available for you. A lot of people selecting the text. You can review this at any other time if you'd like, but in the meantime, again, lots that we need to get through here. So before we move on, though, I want to give you the opportunity. Do you have any questions about this? Questions about the essay? Hey, Tung Lum Ngo. Hello. Yes, please.
Hello.
Hi.
After reading these essays, I was quite amazed about how it's organized. I'm
Thank
sorry
you.
for not opening the cameras.
That's all right.
Yeah, okay, but I'm really confused about how you develop the introductions because it's quite long compared to the normal one that I already know. So
Okay.
can you
Yeah.
explain a little bit about the way you develop the introductions?
Sure. Right. And so
Yes,
this
thank you.
is doing a classical introduction, by the way. The very first sentence is called a hook. And so it literally means like a fish hook. The hook is meant to get the reader's attention. 3 different ways it can do a hook. Doesn't really matter for now. IELTS has developed its own genre where you don't need the hook anymore. So you could simply delete that first sentence. But then after that, you have one side of the argument, the other side of the argument. That is the paraphrasing of the task. Do need to have the paraphrasing. You could perhaps combine these sentences together and make them a little bit shorter. After that, we have the opinion in here. Do need to have the opinion in the discussion essay. And so I've had discussions with different examiners about where an opinion should go, and depends on the style of essay. Some essays don't even need an opinion. Problem solution doesn't need an opinion, but most of them agree that you should have the opinion repeatedly in the essay. You should make it very clear what your opinion is, and so having that in the introduction is good to have it. And then finally, this last one is the outline sentence, and this is usually missing from most people's essays. The outline sentence that I usually see is I will discuss both sides and then give my opinion or something like that. And honestly, that kills me inside because it is an empty sentence. What should an outline sentence do? It should be indicating the order of the ideas, what is going to be body paragraph 1, what is going to be body paragraph 2, and it should be a summary of the information. And this will help with the coherence and cohesion mark of showing that organization. It helps the reader just flow through the essay if you've got a proper outline sentence in there. Does that answer your question there, Mr. Tung, I think?
Yeah,
is your
yeah.
given name?
Okay, it's
Yeah.
perfect. It's perfect. Okay, I
Okay.
got the idea. Because
Okay.
normally, in my essay, there would not be a hook and
Yes. Yeah.
a clear outline sentence because
Mm.
I think that I just need to briefly mention what
Mm.
I need to include in my essay rather than like clearly outline what I do first and the second
Yep.
one. And
And
okay,
so
thank you.
that's going to be that taking it up to that highest level. This will give you a better chance at a 9 if people are looking for that score. And quite frankly, most people don't do the outline sentence very well, in my experience. All
Okay,
right, thank you. You're welcome. Any other questions? Great question. Okay, going to take that as a no more questions. Do let me know if you do have any questions.
Sorry.
Somebody talking.
I cannot find the icon on my screen, so I have a question though
Sure. Yeah.
about the outlining sentences in the introduction. So
Sure.
it's really hard to actually encourage a Band 5 student to actually come up with a very efficient sentence like that. So so you mentioned that you saw a lot of students using an empty sentence. Like we will discuss detail later in the paragraph because that's
Yes.
usually their tendency to write the introduction. So do you have any tips to encourage like a lower band
Sure.
student?
Yes. Well, and first of all, just having that differentiated expectations based on level. Band 5, they may not be able to write a sentence like this, but things that I encourage, again, from the model process approach, where they will explore multiple expert models And the more that they read, the better they're going to get at this type of thing. But one thing that you can do is learn about sentence frames. So this last sentence right here, with a focus on transportation, this essay will acknowledge an argument espoused by the former idea's proponents. Nevertheless, it will culminate with the undeniable pessimistic conclusion. Most of that is a sentence frame where you can just memorize that. So with a focus on, we could remove transportation, we can put any other topic that we're going to be talking about. This essay will acknowledge an argument espoused by the former, could be changed with latter. That can be swapped back and forth. Nevertheless, it will culminate with the undeniable, and then pessimistic, that can be changed, undeniable conclusion. But this is still indicating that the main focus of the essay will be about transportation, that the first paragraph will be about the former idea's proponents, namely that it is talking about the positives of technology. Then it will finish with the pessimistic conclusion about the destruction of the world coming in there. That's where a good outline sentence will do. And so this can be memorized and then adapted to different situations. Okay, and this is something that I encourage with my students a lot of times, is to be looking for sentence frames and how this can be support for developing language. Instead of often, I believe what happens is the person will construct the idea in Vietnamese and then translate it into English, but then that will ignore English genre conventions. There are ways that things should be done in English. And sorry, we cannot just combine things randomly. Even though it may make sense, it's just not how it's done. Unfair rule, but just is. Okay, so summarizing, two things. Number one, Band 5, maybe we shouldn't be looking to go that high with them, but introducing them to some of these expert examples and trying to encourage them along, and maybe reformulate for them afterwards when they've written it. How could this have been done? And then number two, teaching them sentence frames that they can pull out and use on their own and adapt. Okay. Well, I'm sorry, everybody. I don't have more time for this. I do need to move on. Lots that I need to talk about today. Love these questions, though. So the model answer next. Body paragraphs, the so-called English logic. I am not comfortable with this term. This is how I was taught about it. That's why I put it in quotation marks. It feels arrogant to me, but this is how it's kind of discussed in the literature that I've been exposed to. So English logical progression, you have your basic three. You have your topic sentence, you have your supporting idea, you have your supporting evidence. And I have depicted this with the upside down triangle. This is often how it's shown, it's represented, because of the scope of the topic. So topic sentence is typically going to be pretty open. It will be refined with the supporting idea, and then it will be made clear with a real-world example of the supporting evidence. So specifically, we will talk about the first body paragraph. On the one hand, it can be argued that modern technology has solved many of the world's problems, continue to do so, then shifting with a transportation, narrowing a focus, and then the prime example, Vietnam, small engine motorbikes, or public transport like buses. So we'll focus on that first topic sentence and considering the scope of it, the world's problems. Well, I mean, think about that, how open that topic is. We could be talking about many different things that are problems. This is a problem. Pardon. Solving math equations, that's a problem. So what do we mean when we are talking about solving the world's problems? We need to refine this more, and we do so with the supporting idea, with transportation. But even transportation, here's transportation, camels and dromedaries, Model T over a century ago, tuk-tuks in Thailand, small engine motorbikes in Vietnam, many different things that could be talked about when we're talking about transportation. Then we lay it out, we make it clear with that real world example of small engine motorbikes in Vietnam. This is the English logical progression. And a lot of my students they may get to the supporting idea, but they don't hammer it home with the real world example. And that's vital to illustrate the point, to show that this exists in the real world. It is not just magical thought constructs. It is something that we can see in the day-to-day. So, planning and organizing with mind maps. So what is the point of English writing? It's to lead the reader to agree with the writer, or at least to understand what the writer is trying to say. And so this means that if we're going to be doing this well, we should be coming up with ideas first. We should be brainstorming. And my students' usual response to that is, no, I do not want to plan. They don't plan. And many times when I collect the end of course test essays, there is no evidence of planning, even if I've spent the entire term trying to teach them to this. And then within that, we need to be organizing the plan and organizing the flow of the ideas. And again, my students' reaction is they don't want to do it. What is my students' preferred approach? They like to shoot from the hip, an expression meaning to react quickly without thinking carefully about something. Which approach is going to be more accurate, number one or number two? Well, listen, I'm not even going to ask for your answer. That would be condescending. Clearly, number two is the better choice if we want to be accurate. If you were to have many bullets, pow, 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 well, maybe number one, you will make your shot. But with the IELTS, we typically only have the one shot at this, leaving aside the one skill retake. Leaving aside the strategy, I have heard about people taking the IELTS test. I heard of one person doing it 40 times. Bon nuit. Now think about the money that's involved with that. But most people are only going to be doing this the once. So planning options, mind mapping, word association, tables, there's many different ways that we could plan. But I encourage the mind map. Lots of reasons for that. What are the strengths? It can grow organically, it can be hierarchical with body paragraphs transfer, and it is visual with easily seen connections. Coming back to hierarchical, talking about this is a higher level point compared to a lower level point, if you're not familiar with that word. So when I was doing that essay, here is what that mind map could look like. Let me get it out of the way there. So you can see a topic in the middle, and the positive side with transport, private, motorbikes, public, bus, pollution, transport, traffic jams, tech manufacturing, smartphones, Australia, and Formosa. Things to notice about it is I started out writing most of the words in the beginning to help orient you, but who is the mind map for? Is it going to be for the examiner? No. I like to think of the mind map as like a love letter to myself, to my future self, to help me keep this organized. And so I don't need to be writing every letter of every words. In fact, just start writing, and then once you are sure that this is something that will help you understand your ideas, just give up writing the word transp instead of transport. T-jams is not something I'm going to put on my toast. It's traffic jams, right? This is just for me. So this is usually where most people will stop if they plan. The key step that is missing from that is organizing this. What is going to be point number one, point number two? So how are we going to do this? We will generate ideas for both sides, look for real-world examples that illustrate the points, and then notice connections between ideas. How this can be potential paragraph transition areas or idea strengthening. And again, this is how you're going to be getting those higher level coherence and cohesion marks. And it also has an impact on the task response. So top tip, look to make a similar point on both sides. What? Nothing is purely positive or negative, and we'll get to that later with Cradle to the Grave. So transport is on both sides of the argument. Now, I've decided what I agree with is the negative side, and so I usually leave that for the second body paragraph, the third paragraph overall. My opinion is in the third paragraph overall. And so you can see number one, we talk about the transport, and you can say public transport with the buses is number two, private transport with the motorbikes is number two. You could go either or, and that would be kind of equal. but then the transition over to the next paragraph, and that we lead with the transport in the second body paragraph. Why? Because we were just talking about transportation previously. So in the beginning of my next paragraph, continue to talk about the transportation. This smooths the transition across the paragraphs. This helps with the flow. And then after that, we add the extra idea of the tech manufacturing. And then with the smartphones, Australia or Formosa, we could switch the order of that. That doesn't matter that much. But this is what I encourage my students to do. Not just come up with the ideas, but the ordering of the ideas. Very important in English. How can this be transferred to mixed ability classes? So, mixed ability class is a problem for all of us. First of all, the model, you already saw, I translated that into Vietnamese, and that you can use AI support. You don't need to be translating everything into Vietnamese on your own. Oh my goodness, getting ahead of myself there. ChatGPT did that for me quickly. It's not perfect, but it's pretty good. And then the initial focus should be on the structure. How do we build the argument across the essay, and then coming back to the planning, as I just shared with you. De-emphasize grammar and vocabulary. This is superficial. This is a lighter layer of information. And I know when I first got into teaching, that's what I focused on, because it's easier for me to find the problems. But finding the deeper level organization of the ideas, this takes skill and practice on your own end of doing this. So teaching them about the structure and argument planning, argument building and the planning, that is important. Even for the lower levels. So if you've got a group where you've got band 5s in with band 7s, still focusing on that structure and argument building, and then differentiated outcomes. My band 5, I don't expect the higher level grammar and vocabulary from them, but I do want to see that they are able to construct an argument logically in an English fashion. And then for the band 7s, then you look for higher level language from them. Right. Finally, critical thinking strategy. Now, I did see a few messages coming through here, making sure how Duk Tuan Le, how accurate do you think ChatGPT is in terms of estimating IELTS writing band score? I do not encourage this. So with ChatGPT, it is very good at if-then. It is good at having the beginning of a text and that what are likely words afterwards. So it can be pretty good at writing an essay, but it doesn't understand the essay. It doesn't get the deeper meaning. So I would not be using it to be giving band scores. However, it's still possible to be getting feedback from it. So asking it for language feedback on that. But I would be critically examining any task response and coherence and cohesion feedback from ChatGPT. Do not rely on that 100%. Next question. Do students get a high score for grammatical range if they can incorporate inverted conditional sentence in this essay rather than using regular structure or a conditional sentence? So I assume that's Duk. With it, they're looking for a variety of structures. They're looking for complex sentences. Are they specifically an inverted conditional sentence? No, I mean, try not to be going with an approach of a checkbox. I have an inverted conditional, I have a conditional, I have regular structures. Flow instead with the ideas, get the ideas out there. Nice to have it, but not so much of I'm worried about a box ticking approach to that. And then Tifun body 2, we don't need to mention again the opinion in the topic sentence. You can do it, you don't need to. I think it's pretty clear in that body paragraph that is laying out how devastating technology can be. And this is just one way that that essay could have taken shape. There's not always, there's not one limited way to write it. Finally, critical thinking strategy. Thank you for those questions. Sorry it took a while to get to that. I was mid-flow there. Cradle to the grave approach. I love this. I'm so excited about this and its practical application. So, the mindset. take a cradle to the grave approach for understanding. What is a cradle? That is a baby's bed. The grave is, well, the last place we go. So what does that mean? Let me lay it out. Thanks, Teacher Dan. Now I'm depressed. What's your point? Identify all the variables that are involved. Think about each from their start. And then what happens when they have finished? What is the end of it? So, real world example, taking a shower. Clearly, this is a good thing to do. We should take showers, but how could this be a bad thing? What's negative about taking a shower? We need to identify the different variables that are involved. And this, some people may be like, well, this should be pretty straightforward. And why do I feel like you're talking down to me? This is a simple example that can be extrapolated to more complex examples. So taking a shower, what do we need to take a shower? Let's go with when, not Mai. Hello, Mai. Are you there? Can you hear me?
Yes.
Hi. So what do we need for a shower?
Water?
Obviously, right? Yeah, sure. Water. Okay, let's focus first on water. Does it matter? Can I use any water? Can I go out on the street after it rains and just get some buckets from the street to
No,
take a
you
shower
need
with?
clean water. Yeah.
Clean water, right. So we need to be getting it from a clean source. And harsh reality is that we have a limited amount of fresh water in the world, and humans are using the fresh water faster than it is being replenished. So by taking a shower, we are contributing to the diminishing of our freshwater reserves. That's why taking a shower is bad for the water. Thank you, Mai. And let's go with Hong Hang. Nguyen. Is that Hong? Should I be calling you Hong? Or is it Hang?
Yes, my first name is Hang.
Hang. Okay. And by the way, Hang, that's one of my personal beefs. Not technically your first name. The one I prefer to use is your given name is Hang. Because right now it's your second name. But Hang. What else do we need for taking a shower? Just water?
No, we need like cleaning agents like shower gel, and also like something to scrub the dirt off, like
Sure.
like a loofah, something.
Loofah, something like that. Okay, so let's focus on the shower gel. Back to the beginning. How do we get shower gel?
We purchased at the store.
Go back even further. Where does the shower gel come from?
They come from the factories, from the companies, and
Sure.
they also come from the lab where the R&D
Right.
team developed the
Sure.
formula.
Yeah. And so let's just stay then with the factory. Okay, nice point about the lab, but the factory. We're now talking about an industrial process in order to create these materials, right? And so if we're talking about industry, what do we need for industry to work? Is it just people bashing things together with their fists or with a club?
No, they also need like a board director to to do the
Right, but
planning
keeping
and
more in the
preparation.
nitty gritty, the creation of the gel, and then the great point there too. But the creation of that shower gel,
They
again, are we
need-
just mashing these things together? No.
No, they need like an assembly line, and they need to gather the ingredients from other sources as well.
Sure. Yeah. And so that assembly line means that there's probably going to be machines that are part of it. Machines need
also-
energy. They need electricity. Where does electricity come from?
They come from power plants across the nation, and
What is the number one source of electricity in the world?
I think is it geothermal or
Oh, I wish. No, the
right.
number one, and you'll see that in this group chat, is
coal, I
coal.
think. Yes.
That's that black rock that it's burned, and sometimes we use it for cooking. But by burning, now we are creating greenhouse gas emissions. Now we are contributing to air pollution so that we can have our shower gel. Anytime we're talking about electricity, now, here in Vietnam, we can talk about hydropower as a significant contribution for our electricity here, but still we have a substantial amount of our electricity is coming from things that are polluting the environment. And that's not just Vietnam, that's a world. Vietnam's doing pretty good, actually, for renewable resources in energy. Okay, so again, showing how something that we think of showers are positives. If you go back far enough, there are negatives that are involved. Now, we've only done the cradle part, where things come from. We've only talked about a limited amount of these things. We talked about the water. We didn't even talk about hot water or cold water. Depends on where you live. But if you're in Hanoi in December, you probably don't want to take a cold shower. You probably want a hot shower. And then hot shower again means probably electricity is involved. And now we have a heuristic. I'll put that in the group chat for you to see that word, where we can rely on electricity means bad, basically for electricity, okay, for energy. Thank you there, Hang. And let's move on. Let's talk to another person. I see Yen Tui. Hello, Ms. Tui. Are you there? Can you hear me?
Yes. Hi.
Hi. And is that Tui or is that Yin that I should call you?
My first name is Tui.
Thank you, Tui. Now, Tui, thinking about the grave, where does this combination of water and shower gel, we have cleaned ourselves, where does it go after we are finished?
Probably under the ground. Sewage system.
Exactly. So it's going to go down the drain. It's going to go into the sewage system. Some of that sewage system is treated, but it cannot do everything. So it does mean that our basically dirty water and that shower gel, it's going to keep going. It's going to move on into rivers. It's going to go into the ocean. Now, Ms. Tui, do you think the fish want shower gel? Are they going to clean themselves?
I guess not.
No, it's not. And actually, what is happening with that is that we are leading to the acidification of the oceans with that. Now, this may be a new word for some of you, but noticing the root of acid. By taking showers, and you can extend that beyond showers, washing our clothing, washing our dishes, all of these cleaning agents that we are using, they are contributing to the changing of the pH of the oceans. It is making the oceans more acid. And that is negative impacts on marine life around the world. This is a big problem that's currently happening in our world. So we've had a sample of the cradle to the grave approach. We identified the variables of water and shower gel. We took them back to their beginning of getting the fresh water. We're running out of that we are using industrial processes, and electricity means pollution. And we went to the grave. Where does it go in the end? Eventually, that dirty water is going to go to the ocean and its negative, harmful environmental consequence. Next topic to consider, solar power. Again, it's a good thing, right? Renewable energy, solar power. Well, nothing is purely good. And even things that are really bad can have positive outcomes. Or aspects that are positive. So how is it bad? Think about it from its start and what happens when it's finished. What is a solar panel made out of? So let's go with Mr. Fom again. Solar panel. Now, you may not know exactly what's inside it, but make a guess. What do you think is the materials?
I'm not so sure, but apparently made some like iron or
Yes, metal of some sort.
Yeah,
I agree. Sure.
some
Yeah.
tools like I'm so sure. Let me think.
Yeah. Well, I'll give you a hand. The other ones that I think of that are probably in it, and I didn't research it, but plastic
Yeah.
is a reasonable guess.
Mhm.
Glass might be in there too. Yeah, right? Okay, so we got metal, we got plastic, we got glass that are in there. So let's go, Fong, let's continue with you. Fong, metal. Where does metal come from? I'm not trying to trick you. Where do we get metal from? As a natural resource.
I don't think so. It's not. It's man-made material.
Well, but we still need to get it from the ground first. So iron exists in the ground, although we may need to separate it from other minerals. But stainless steel comes from iron, and we still need to get that. And it comes from the ground. And there are two different ways that we can be extracting metal from the ground. Number one, you can get something that's called a quarry. And let me open that image in a new tab. Why is it always tiny the first time? Give me the big one, please. So this right here, this was an environment. This was an ecosystem. This was a hill at one point. That is gone now. This is an environmental catastrophe. This is the complete and utter destruction of a habitat. Nothing can live there that used to live there anymore. Number one is a quarry. The other one is a mine. And again, these are not good for the environment. There is waste water that will come out from this process. So, coming back from its source, metal extraction is really bad for the environment if we want to be prioritizing where we live. We talked about, yes, I saw Ms. Heng, thank you, from the ground, you're right. And then plastic. Mr. Tung, are you still there?
Yes, I'm still here.
All right, plastic. How do we make plastic? What does it come from?
It's from it's the same source with fossil fuel. It's like from digging from the ground.
Yeah, it's from oil. Yeah,
oil. Yeah, it's from oil.
Yep, you're right. And then you're right, digging into the ground, the extraction from it, and then we have that oil. We sometimes need to transport it. And the transportation.
Yes, it needs fuel. It's fuel. Yeah, it needs fuel to.
It needs the fuel, around. Right? I'm also thinking about times when we have problems from the transportation. So a ship that has oil in it in a storm, and now that oil is all throughout the ocean.
Split over.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, or there's also pipelines that will transfer them, but eventually that pipeline will break. And then you will have liters and liters, thousands of liters of oil just into a field somewhere.
Yeah.
So again, negative thing that can happen from that for the plastic. Mr. Tung, while I have you, thinking about plastic, in general, what happens to plastic in the end? It's to the grave.
Okay. It takes an extremely long time for plastic to degrade. So it's something really harmful, and sometimes animal like they mistake plastics like for some turtle they eat plastic bag because they think
birds too.
Yes, like jellyfish. Yeah, it's also really harmful.
Yep. So they'll eat it, and then there are issues about microplastics. So the plastics, it takes thousands of years for them to 100% break down, but there's still pieces of it that will break off to the point where white table salt, there's a very good chance that in your salt that you put in your food, you are all of us are consuming plastic. And so that's in our digestive system now. I've gotten distracted a little bit. Let's just focus now on, so we talked about plastic. We could talk about, Din Vu Dang, talking about oil spills. Great. Yep. We talked about the plastic. Let's focus on that solar panel, though. So we talked about the metal, the plastic. We didn't talk about the glass. Don't need to talk about it all. But then imagine this solar panel. Are they going to last forever? No. Eventually they will break. And there are some things that can happen. So let's go with T. Quinn Fee. I'm going to guess, is that Quinn? Is your name? Yes. Okay, Quinn. I have a broken solar panel. I need to get rid of it. What can happen? Where does it go?
I think because they are panels, so it is really difficult to recycle or to be biodegrade, I guess.
Yes, and so you're right. It maybe it gets recycled. Honestly, I don't know, but a lot of people think recycling is better than it actually is. Some things can be recycled really well, such as aluminum, but plastic does not recycle very well. It takes more energy to recycle plastic than it does to make new plastic. But if it's going to biodegrade, We have 2 locations in the world that it can go to. Where can it go?
Probably in the land.
That's one option, yeah. So to a landfill, a garbage dump, you're right. The other option is that it gets into water, it gets into the ocean at some point. And you're right, both of them will biodegrade. This means that this combination of metal and plastic and glass, it just kind of starts to melt over time. If you have a lot of things that are not very good for the environment melting over time in a landfill, it will go into the soil, into the ground. And if you have more of it, it goes deeper, and it goes deeper, and it goes deeper. And right. And so, Ms. Quinn, do you know what is underneath the soil?
Some creators.
We have groundwater underneath the soil. And this is the number one source for most countries for the water that we take a shower in, the water that we wash our dishes with. So my next question for you, Ms. Quinn, is do you want to take a shower in water that has solar panel waste in it?
Absolutely not.
Absolutely not. In fact, if you do that, there's a very good chance that you're going to have a similar hairstyle to Teacher Dan. Anyway, yeah. And that's not just for solar panels, any different things. If we have too much of a concentration of bad things that are deteriorating, if it gets into your groundwater, there's not much that we can do after that. That is a contaminated source of water that we will not likely be able to use very well anymore. So, cradle to the grave, a critical thinking approach that you can be passing along to your students. Break it apart into the different variables that are involved. Think about them from their beginning, extend it to their end, what's happening here. And so this is a way that you can take something and make it both positive and negative. You can be thinking about positive and negatives. And tying that back to writing task 2, having a topic that is on both sides that can be talked about both positively and negatively. A strategy. It doesn't work for everything, but it can work for some. Continuing on, how are we doing? 10:35, practical application. So into your breakout rooms again. Now I am going to come and check on you in each of your breakout rooms and encouraging conversation so that people are not sitting there with their cameras off and microphones. No, no, no. Please do be talking about this topic in your breakout rooms with your groups. And so identifying mobile phones, each of the different kind of variables that can be positive about mobile phones and negative about the mobile phones. Trying to think about them from their positives, from their beginning to their end. Any questions before I put you in your breakout rooms? Awkward silence means no, so back into your breakout rooms and I will come and check on you. Let's go. Hello. Ten Huyen Dang. Thank you, Ten. Oh, Ten, I don't hear you. Can you speak again?
Hi. Yeah.
Perfect. I do hear you. Yes, I can. So, Teng, sorry, I hope your name is Teng. It could be Huyen.
Actually, my name is Huyen.
Huyen. Okay, so your second name is actually your given name. All right. So same thing though. Positive and negative trends, effects of the trend of mobile phones increased. What do you think?
Yes, for the positive side, I think that mobile phones have allowed us to connect to people all over the world, especially with the support from the internet.
Great. And so Huyen, I love where you're going with this. If you can please continue. I see that Din Vu Dang has turned on his camera and microphone. And there is a Nambui with her camera on. If she can turn on your camera, turn on your microphone, and please continue to discuss this. And trying to do that cradle to the grave approach that we were just talking about to apply that. But please continue. I got to go check on the other rooms.
Yes, okay. Everyone try to lazy. For the negative side, yes, the first one I think of is the addiction. Among the children nowadays. So whenever you go to a coffee shop or some public places, you can see the scenes that everyone try to stick to the mobile phones instead of interacting. No, I try to communicate with other one. So I think that is the first pressing negative side of the mobile phone right now. Yes, okay. Right. Yeah. Normally maybe it depends. If I have a lot of ideas, maybe I will put two, but in our case, yes, only one. Yes, which means that each body you focus only on one main ideas, okay? It's okay, maybe it can damage our health. Yes. Yes, okay. Yes, maybe we have a tendency to stay up late and then try to surf the internet without turning on the light. Okay, so it can have detrimental effect on our eyes. Okay, sleep. Yes. Yes, okay. Yes. Yes, okay, it's nice. No problem. Yeah, maybe everybody we keep silent. And maybe it's time to leave the breakout room.
Recording in progress.
Hope you had an interesting discussion in the other rooms. I did manage to get to most of the rooms, and I noticed we had some pretty interesting ideas happening, some interesting topics that were talked about. Let's go with Dan. Dan Oi. Any ideas? And can you try to do that cradle to the grave approach that we were just talking about with positive and negative effects with increased mobile phone usage?
Okay, I'll try my best.
Sure.
Well, for starters, as for the positive use of mobile phones, it is we discussed the convenience of it, and second of all, that it allow us to access information anytime, anywhere at the tips of our fingers. But at the same time, we discussed about the manufacture of mobile phones. We need to get one first before we need to access information. And to our knowledge, a phone such as an iPhone that I have, it's made from a lot of materials such as titaniums, glass, sometimes even gold in the chips.
True. Yeah. And then we've gone through that process of looking at that from the beginning to the end about getting any of those materials is going to be harmful for the environment. And then after the iPhone is finished,
Such
and
as
this is
what are
something
we
that's
going to do with the models that are already outdated, such as the iPhone 1?
Yes.
What happens to it?
Yes, exactly. And then we do have a problem too with companies that want to make money, resulting in forced obsolescence. And you may recognize obsolescence from the word obsolete, meaning something is old. And forced means the companies are making these old quicker than they need to be. So I have a Samsung Galaxy S8. I no longer get security updates. They do not give me any more security updates. They are making me get a new phone. And it is slower too now as a result of that. One thing I wanted to get to, now I liked how you turned that into the physical structure. That was great practice of that cradle to the grave approach. One thing I wanted to come back to is trying to find something where we can transition between the two paragraphs. And you were talking about the convenience, the ability to access information at any time. I could see that becoming a negative as well. Dan, can you think about how that convenience, that easy access to not just information, but apps is also a negative?
I would say the negative aspect of that would affect children the most, because there are some information that they're not supposed to know at their young age.
Interesting point. Yeah, sure. Yeah.
And as for the adults, sometimes some of that information is propaganda related or that misleading, and
Sure.
it could make them vulnerable to cyber predators.
Cyber predators, continuing with some similar ideas, fake news, that we don't always get to know where, if something is truthful information. And when we learn something, we rarely encode where the information comes from. Did this come from Tui Che, newspaper? Did this come from VN Express, or did it come from some weird site that maybe isn't legitimate? We don't remember that information. We usually just remember the content. And so sometimes this can just get all mixed together. Another thing that my mind was going to was about, I would argue that most of us have at least a low-grade addiction to our smartphones. There are times when I don't even notice, but I just start to reach for my cell phone to open it up, to open up Facebook. That we have an addiction because of this ease of access here. And so then we have that connecting idea across both, how something is good and it's also bad.
Our group also discussed that most people nowadays, just including me, we just feel vulnerable without a phone at our side.
Yes, anxiety.
Crucial information, such as this meeting today. If I'm not having my phone with me, I would not know about it.
Yeah, great. I mean, there are lots of great ideas. I love it there, Dan. Right, thank you very much. Now, I do have to move us on because we are slightly over time and we need to have a break. So, good news, everybody. We are at break time. So, break is going to be 10 minutes long. I will put a timer up on my screen. Please stand up. Get away from your phone. Get away from your computer. And for your own eye health, go and look at something that's far away as possible. This is important for all of us. Right, I'm going to do that. So, hope you have a good break.